I'm here live from the floor of the NYSU with Jim Cramer. Jim, what's on the top of your mind this morning?
Well, that people forgot China. I mean, for 4 days, no one's talked about China, and that's a mistake because China's good now. Iran's not good, but China being good is terrific for a lot of our companies, and people are starting to recognize that maybe we should switch focus again and at least be mindful that a China that is not at financial war with us is a China that drives tech up. And that and CES are very positive. And against that, you can see it. You can see the healthcare, the safety stocks are down, particularly the healthcares. And I think that's worth following. They're very weak. Merck in particular, because of a critical failure of Keytruda, which is such a wonder drug. We just keep feeling that Keytruda is going to do everything right, but the kind of cancer that it did not succeed against is an intractable cancer that Bristol Myers had the same problem too. Bristol Myers owned by Action Alerts.
Speaking of China, Elon Musk was in Shanghai yesterday. He was caught dancing, which made headlines. But one thing that you focused on in your Real Money column this morning was the market cap and how it surpassed
I think
GM.
It should be much bigger. Much bigger. I mean, he sells every car he makes at a premium price. His cars are loved. It's EV, which is the future. I mean, ask Mike Worth about that from Chevron. His cars are fun. They're experiential. They are within reason in terms of price. There's still a rebate, a Chinese break if you buy one for the rest of the year. He built that plant in 10 months, which is extraordinary. I can't believe he did it. He drives his people very hard. He out-executes everybody. He can dance all he wants, if you ask me. As I said on Squawk on the Street, he can dance naked. I mean, terrific.
Over on Real Money, your column noted that he, all of his antics have kind of turned Tesla into a cult stock. But should investors be dancing about this stock?
Well, I caught this one in the high 200s. I'm going to explain again why I caught it. My daughter drove one from Ashland, Oregon, all the way down to Southern California. And I always, that would be impossible given all the times you have to change. Not at all. And then my wife drove one and said, listen, we got to get one. I was with a CFO who said, listen, they can raise $2 billion immediately. They had just reported an upside surprise. I didn't get in before that. When I get in, I'm saying recommended. But the company is a true growth company in an industry that has no growth. And that's just incredible. It's defying what has become a no-growth industry, other than, say, Porsche, and that's just incredible. I think that I didn't want to get behind it as long as he was taunting the SEC and tweeting his damn fool head off, because those show that he wasn't serious. He was serious all the time, but he was masking it with that kind of nonsense. That's over. The man's a titan. He's the real deal, and the car's the real deal.
You mentioned CES, and I want to ask,
yes,
we're seeing a lot of 5G headlines come out of CES between automated driving and all of that. Right. But is 5G overhyped? No,
5G is going to be one of the great secular growth themes of the era. It's much bigger than anybody thinks. I think that people don't realize the latency that we really have in 4G. This is going to be, you're not going to ever have a problem with. I mean, look, I was on the road last week, and I was trying to get on a couple of different sites and trying to look at different sites, and there's always problems. It's just always problems. Those problems are going to go away. Your PCs can be better than your TV. Already some of them are. But 5G is going to be, everyone has to upgrade. I mean, so imagine 3 to 4 wasn't that big a deal. So there's still some 3s out there. I was in 3 last week. So we'll go from 3 to 5. Everyone will upgrade, and an upgrade cycle for billions of people is very important. So no, it's not. No, we've got Marvell. It's going to be really big in 5G. People don't realize that Marvell is going to be, I say, really an amazing way to play 5G, because they're getting out of the low multiple, going in the high, but it's being masked by this huge shuffling of the cards, and they're going to come up aces.
Jim, tomorrow, Wednesday, January 8th, at 11:30 a.m., you have your first Action Alerts Plus members only call of 2020.
I've been going back and forth with my writing partner, Matt Horween, and now my introductory remarks, it's about 3,000 words, are with Jeff Marks and Zev Fima. And I'm talking about how I'm trying to temper some of my enthusiasm, but there's such resilience, I don't want to temper all of my enthusiasm. You know that club members know that a lot of the things that we've been doing are sales to raise money for what could be some sort of surprise, exogenous surprise, not unlike, say, 2018, when you had that the tariffs, and then you had the president's unpredictable, and then you had the VIX destruction. And the president's unpredictability, I think, presents great opportunities for people. So I want to be opportunistic, move a little more toward neutral, not bearish, not an Armageddonist, but a recognition that we were up 30%, and bulls make money, bears make money, and hogs get slaughtered.
So, Jim, what has you the most excited about this call?
I'd say right now the most excited is discussing the primaries and the presidents, my relationship with Trump, my relationship with Clinton about the stock market and where it fits in, and what I think is going to happen in the election. And I'm still noodling. I just so people know about the call, I do about 3 drafts, then I let it sit for 24 hours. Then I do another draft tomorrow between 3:30 and 4 a.m. And then I do another draft between 10:30 and 11:30. Throughout this, Zev and Jeff also do drafts and revise. The club calls the most important thing we do. We're very proud of it. We all put a huge amount of effort in it. It's done up to the minute. The only time I ever screwed up was that I had a call on Wednesday, and I did the whole thing on Sunday, and had to rip everything up because the Fed changed its mind and Trump tweeted. And so I try to do it closer to the current events, but I think people like it. I think it's a call that explains why I'm a little more cautious, but I am still a believer. And that's a fine line that I'm walking. Very fine line. So I'm excited about it. And we have so many new members. I care tremendously about members and about people joining. I think that the club is the single greatest way to learn how to invest. And I talk about how the embarrassment of what I do, and I know whether the embarrassment is mentioning, that we lost money on Apache. I just mentioned because Apache said before, or the embarrassment of saying every sale we made was wrong. Every sale. I mean, think about it. Everything just keeps going up, up, and up. But we're buying some good things. We'll talk about our most recent buys. And I urge people to join. I mean, if I had the club when I was at Goldman Sachs, I would have made people a lot of money, a lot more than I did.
Now, of course, if you're not already a member, head on over to actionalertsplus.com to sign up to watch Jim live at 11:30 a.m. Wednesday, January 8th. Jim, before we go, you wrote something in Real Money yesterday about retail, but more specifically our stock of the day, Kohl's, that I want to ask you about.
Well, it's very interesting because Matt Boss, who's my favorite analyst,
from JP Morgan,
says that Kohl's is going to have an upside surprise. Jeffries this morning says it's going to have a downside surprise. So you got a real shootout. Now, Matt is really emphasizing Nordstrom. He thinks there's some structural changes happening in Nordstrom, and everyone should be focused on that. Secondarily, he likes Kohl's. But it is a kind of interesting time because you've got people saying that things are too promotional, and then you have other people like Matt saying it was a good Christmas. So let's see. I like to bet on Matt.
I want to take a step back.
Boeing is up 6 today. I don't know.
So I want to take a step back from how Matt Boss changed.
Still in right.
Oh, look, it's Bill. Bill, come on over.
Come over here.
Our Bull Market Fantasy co-host, Bill Enright.
Hi, everybody.
Bill was at the Birds game this weekend with my family.
Yes.
And my wife thinks you're great.
She
And
does?
she doesn't like anybody.
Lisa's the best.
Just kidding. Yeah, but she just thinks
Just
you're
kidding,
great.
she likes me?
No,
Or
no, I'm
just
just kidding.
doesn't
She doesn't like anybody. And just thinks that you are a teacher.
Thank you.
Her daughter loves you, and Carter
Very
too.
great. Both of them were excellent.
Yeah, and it was just the kind of thing where even though it was a loss, you brought great joy to the box,
I tried.
and you understand. I know you were some young lads
Yeah.
this morning from Syracuse. The synergy between stock and fantasy is so tight.
Yep.
And the way you figure out the over-under is the way we would figure out Coke versus Pepsi.
Right.
The way you figure out the line is how you figure out the price earnings multiple. I mean, it's extraordinary, so it's good to see you.
Thank you, sir. Always do your homework. Doesn't matter if it's fantasy football or stock market. Mr. Cramer always says, do your homework, and then that's how you succeed. So that's
And
true.
you guys snuck onto the sidelines of the Seahawks, right, at the Birds game?
Was that
You
fun?
didn't sneak anywhere.
No, I've got a
You
pass.
walk around with Jim and gates open up like
There's
Moses.
a lot of people like the show. A lot of people like what we do, and I enjoy that tremendously. I show Bill, we get to meet the owner, get to meet the general manager, the director of player personnel, and these are people I see at sideline pass every game, and they bring again great joy. And Mr. Laurie's a fantastic owner. He would get mad at me if I said how much charity he does, but he does
All
it.
anonymous.
He does it all anonymously. There's a fantastic article yesterday by Jane Brody in the New York Times about migraines, and mentions a Dr. Dodick, who's the foremost brain expert in this country. And Dr. Dodick was in Mr. Laurie's box recently because the amount of work that giving that Mr. Laurie does to try to help people with anything related to brain is extraordinary. So anyway, it's good to see you.
Absolutely, thank you.
And it was so much fun to have you in the. I mean, he's a last minute addition. I called him like 5 minutes ago, the day before, because I know how much you love the
football.
game. And then you got Mike the Pizza Guy.
Yeah, Mike the Pizza Guy, Dominic's in Totowa, yep. I think it's the best pizzeria in North Jersey.
That's a tough claim. But look, I have to tell you, I know how good we are at longshoremen because we got an 8.2 from Portnoy.
That's right.
From one bite. Portnoy's down. He's down. He's staying away from Twitter because of the loss, New England loss. I totally understand him. I know that when I met Portnoy, I said, "Oh my God, you're me." When I was younger, you're just not afraid. He has no fear.
No, none. And that's why, he's very successful.
Really successful. He
Well-
deserves it.
He does. Works hard.
Yes, he does.
works very hard.
Now, I know he's made mistakes, but so have I.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah.
All right, Bill, it was so nice to
Thank
see you on
you.
the floor.
All right, buddy. Good to see you.
All right, Jim, we
Now, one
gotta.
last thing. No, we're not done.
We're not done.
I want to talk again about the concept of Jimmy Chill. My daughter, Cece, is trying to change me. Notice I didn't say anything negative to anybody on Twitter yesterday. And she and I are part of the Turn Back Time tour. She's going to go back to 2009 when she was a super athlete. I'm going to go back to 2016 before I had some problems that made me the national spokesperson for the American Migraine Foundation. So we're on the Turn Back Time tour, and I am officially Jimmy Chill. I saw Ross Gerber recognize that I'm Jimmy Chill. A lot of people think it's inconceivable, but she texted me this morning from Spain. She says she's happy to see that I'm still Jimmy Chill.
So far, so good. I look forward to seeing it in the future.
Now, Jimmy Chill is the answer to my problems, and I have to accept that is who I am.
Well, I truly am happy to hear that. All right, Jim, thank you so much for joining us today. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Now, of course,
Turn back time. You can turn back. Planet Fitness rings the bell. You can turn back time. Thank you, sir.
Now, of course, we are now heading over to our ActionAlertsPlus.com daily rundown show over on ActionAlertsPlus.com. Check us out there. I'm Catherine Ross, and we'll see you tomorrow.